Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I think just to put some numbers to it, I've seen some demand forecast, as I say, 20 to 60% growth to 2030 from a baseline in maybe 2022. So that's quite a lot of growth. Another forecast I've seen says 6 million tons per year of, of demand for low carbon hydrogen in 2030. It could be realistic based on policy support. So we could work with those numbers in terms of demand. On the production side, one forecast estimates that around 10 million tons of electrolytic hydrogen could be available per year in 2030, and I think that was based on advanced electrolyser projects or post FID electrolyser projects, or both advanced and post FID. So clearly the two don't quite match there, and it looks like there's a little bit of an oversupply, perhaps. Although if you look at the range provided by that 20 to 60% growth from now, then maybe they are kind of within ballpark. But to revisit a point kind of made earlier, that there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of complexity here with the demand forecasts. Are they too optimistic? What happens if deployment of one of the applications doesn't grow as expected and the forecast needs to come down? What if it grows more strongly than expected? The demand picture changes very quickly. On the production estimate side, the electrolyzer projects, there are a number of very large project announcements, gigawatt scale projects. But we've also seen several project cancellations recently too, which indicate that even a mature project through FID is not necessarily immune to some of the challenges that are happening, and it's not certain that they'll go ahead. So and when projects are at that large scale, that gigawatt scale, there's quite a lot of exposure to the failure of one or a few projects. You lose a very large capacity of electrolytic hydrogen if a couple of projects fail. So I think looking at the strongest, most bullish scenario, let's say we're well progressed. The well progressed electrolyzer projects do all get built, and then maybe you could feasibly see an oversupply, thinking globally. But perhaps at that point you see some price movement within the constraints of the profitability of the project. But maybe some more competitive pricing ends up enabling more demand, and things balance out. So I guess just to summarize, if all of the announced electrolyzer projects go ahead, and the demand forecasts end up a little bit on the low end, then perhaps you could realistically see an oversupply of low carbon hydrogen. But I think far more likely is that we'll see some electrolyzer projects drop out for various reasons, face various challenges. Demand forecasts will be revised based on how those new technologies progress, and ultimately the two will likely find a way of balancing, whether that's by pricing or something else in the longer term.